Okay, by popular demand, we're going to do a little quick video on doing some clutch work on the CFMoto zforce 800. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to be pulling the CT cover off, so you need to make some room. If it's your first time, you're probably going to want to take the battery cover off. Obviously, you're going to want to take the tire off so you can get in there to get all the bolts. Inside, you're going to be pulling the seats, the center plastic, and the side plastics on this side, so you can get to everything down in there. Okay. Getting there. It's about all we need to take off. So we're going to take this cover off next. Okay, we got all the bolts loose and out. I want to make a special little notation here that you'll see that they're all the same length except for two of them. These two are the ones that go where the dowel pins are, okay? Normally you're just going to want to take a dead blow hammer and just tap it. Make sure all the bolts are out all the way around. There might be one sneaking in there that you don't know of. Make sure they're all gone. Just give it a little bit of a tap and it'll slide right out, okay? Behind it, there's a metal gasket, and you do not want to damage that metal gasket. And it would make it a lot easier if you do take that off. I'm trying to do it as easily as possible. Okay, we're down to our primary and our secondary here, and we'll take now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the tension off of the primary. And we're going to put that screw, that one bolt, into the secondary to expand it. It's got two holes that you can use. Well, only one of them you can use. So one of them's threaded and one of them isn't. So you're going to have to find which one's the threaded one and put your bolt in. The other one won't thread. So this one, I just got lucky. This one facing me is threaded. So put it in there all the way until you get it to where it stops, and at the, I don't know if you can see it, until the head passes the bolt. So because you're going to put a socket on it, okay? And just to where the head bottoms out. Don't go any farther than that. You don't need to be any tighter than that. And that one's a 32 millimeter. Where the secondary is a 36. Now these are torqued to 80 foot-pounds, and you can take them off with the impact but you cannot put them back on with the impact. Especially the primary, because you will be forcing it against the one-way clutch and you'll tear the clutch out of it. That's all there is to that. Just take the, oh, look at that. You are going to have to take that off. Damn it. Okay. Okay. Alright. So you do have to take the battery cover off. Doggone it. Oh well. Slide the, put your thumb on it, hold all this, the sliders or rollers are going to be inside this cam plate. Just slide that section off. Set it down. Now when I was having my misery of trying to get this one off, I built this spanner tool because I had to figure out a way to exert 700 plus pounds of force, impact force on that nut to get it loose. It was rusted on there, and you know, from the factory. So as you see, I've custom tapered, you know, solid steel blocks and welded them to 1.25 inch by 1/4 inch stock so that they would fit. You got to fit inside these deals here. Set it right there on the steel, as you see. Now both of these nuts are right hand threaded, so let's put them in there, and you got to flex this this plastic here a little bit. Set that in place. There we go. Break her loose. Well, I tell you, that sure beats the hell out of what I had to go through the first time. Let me tell you. It was everything a 1,000-pound impact could do to get that off with a 6-inch impact extension going through the outside. It was not easy. I almost gave up on it. When you put this back in, doesn't hurt anything. Clean it up, lube the threads, and lubricate this shaft and lubricate this end, because this is all going all the way down in there and impacting on the steel part of the hub for the secondary, and that's where it was rusted. It was right around here and then out here. As you can see, that's all shiny because I cleaned it up. And just put a little coating of grease on it. You don't need a bunch. Just put a little coating of grease on it, throw it back together, torque it to correct specs, and there won't be any more issues with that. Now, secondary just slides straight off. It gets kind of close at the end. There's a part of a wiring harness there that's kind of in the way sometimes. You have to kind of work it around that. There we go. It's close. There you go. Don't give up on it because it will come off. And if your belt doesn't have any markings on it, you know it was on like this, you want to make sure you put it back on the way it came off. And all belts pull from the top. So the direction of rotation is from the secondary on the top back to the primary. So put an arrow on it. Just something that tells you which way that goes back on there. Put it in a couple places because you don't know if it's going to get wore off. Now, but you also, if you see this green arrow right here, this is a green arrow, and it's narrow at this end right here. So as long as you point that towards the top, towards the primary, you'll be okay. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to take our bolt back out of here because we don't want it in there. And if you can, I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but you can see it down through there, you know, pushing that out. And it actually kind of damages it a little bit. I'm really surprised they didn't put a steel plate on that in some way. They didn't. I think I'm probably going to clean that up a little bit when I back this out. When I take this all apart. Alright, so let's take this thing apart. Here's a EPI clutch spring or secondary spring compressor that's for my brute force. It's actually about this much too short, so when I release this spring, I'm gonna have to hold it down to get it. Not much I can do about that. You can make these out of all thread rod. That's not a big issue. And just give you a little bit of a history on these clutches. Unlike a lot of clutches, these have a single spring with posts on either end, and it uses the torsional action of the spring instead of the compression action of the spring to offer resistance between the expanding of the secondary, and it slides up and down these ramps on these posts, as you can see here. And what we do is we're going to set this in different positions. You can set this in different positions to offer preload. That's a forces that's already against this post at the bottom. So the more preload it has, the more resistance it has, and that's equal to putting a heavier spring in it. Okay, so when they say let's just say B2, well, when we pull this apart, you'll see that the bottom one side of it has, well, we'll talk about that when I get it apart. There's 3 positions at the bottom, A, B, and C, and there's 4 positions at the top, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to say, I want to put it in the B position at the bottom and the 2 position at the top, and then you compress it back together, align your pin up, and put your circlip back in, and you put it back on here. But we'll do all that, okay? Don't need to worry about that at the moment. Turn it so we can get to it. You can make these, but you got to have an opening here to get to the circlip. And you're just gonna turn this puppy down. Enough to where you get the relief off of it and get it out of there's a groove down inside there. See that you're gonna, and as you also can see, you got to make sure you can see this recess right here. See this recess here? That's for the head for your circlip to set up into. So make sure when you put back together, you put back into that recess, okay? Alright, so we're going to take this loose. Just set that up on top, okay? Alright. Now we're just going to back this thing off. Slowly but surely. Sometimes it's not going to want to go. Just back it off a little bit and just tap it. Kind of fussy. Got a little dirt in it. Come. Now there's a keyway in here too that you're going to want to put back in, obviously. Let's see where it is. Just as you see, when we go back together with it, we're gonna torsion this back over, and as we compress this back down, we're going to set this back on the ramp. Okay, so but that's going to be a little bit tricky, when we do that. I mean, it's not tricky, but it's just going to have to happen. We'll do it, don't worry. Now what I've done, if you don't have your compressors like mine, and it's not long enough, well, you can put a couple vice grips on these and squeeze these down a little bit. But I think I found that if I just get it right to the end, I can actually hold it. There's not that much left on it. I can actually hold it down to get the nut off. Much longer, but you know, it just has to be, you know, at least, you know, there's an 1.5 inches there. And if you had it 2 inches longer than this, then that would work. Alright, so take it off. Always mark it wherever you were. Now see, as you can see, there is a keyway here. Take that keyway out and just get it out of the way for right now. Alright. So we're going to take this spring off. Mark where they were, because you don't know. Down, like I say, down inside you're going to have A, B, and C, and it's marked on the holes down there. And then on the top, you're going to have 1 through 4, and it's going to be these anchors are going to go through those holes, and you're going to have to see where you were. Just remember where it was, okay? But we're going to go from C1 to B2, and there's a chart that I'll throw up right about now that shows it. That shows the ratings on them, okay? So what I'm going to do at the moment here is I want to clean this off. I want to blow this all out because I got to clean it. I'm a clean freak. I need to clean this thing up. These things get a lot of dirt in them. I suggest just getting a Scotch-Brite pad and go over the whole thing, make sure it's smooth and clean, and especially obviously the shivs themselves. Clean them up a little bit. Just take you don't want to scratch it hard. You just want to give it a little bit.